gonna be great. Just great. It's like I'm lumber coming by in office space. It's like, I just need you to come in there on Sunday. All right then. That's just great. But I'm not like lumber. I'm a retired bodybuilder. And I mean, if people wanted to get into a point of contention about something, I can even call out all the so called bodybuilders that are on the site. There are a few, but bodybuilders back in the day didn't go and talk to people about steroids openly in the middle of the gym floor. So what they did was they talked about it in the change room. So that means if you're at a gym and you're a man, it's like 18, or you've got junk down there that you feel, you can let it hang out, go ahead, come into the men's. But that's what you're going to talk here. I mean, I used to clean up all the syringes and, oh, did I say that? Do you think your kid's going to the gym and doesn't see this stuff? It's all over all the modern gyms even more. It's everywhere. It's like spears all over everywhere. See, I call them spears because it was a whole like language that only bodybuilders spoke. And most of the stuff that you hear online now is not bodybuilding lingo because it's just secondhand stuff that's been regurgitated online. Louis Marco gets famous, and by the way, he's gone. He left a long time ago. He was like, I'm out of here. This is just the most ridiculous community. So when I'm sitting here on Savage Gains, I just have to think back, like, when was I first a moderator? It's like, I was the moderator of superiormuscle.com. Go look it up. Say hi to Bouncer for me. That's what his name was. Bouncer. He's the owner. That's like Adam here is just Adam. Over there you have a Nick Bouncer. And if you didn't quite agree with what the owner said, he'd bounce you right out of there. And he didn't care if you lived next door because he's probably like 300. I forget how big. He's a big dude, okay? He's Everybody on that site was either a big dude or wanted to be one. There's very few women, right? This is a new phenomenon because of social media. I've been watching it happen. It's taken literally less than like 10 years. Like this is what you're seeing online is just a small reflection of a lot of things that are happening in the world today. And one of them is the fact that any Tom, Dick, and Harry, or Harriet, or Henrietta, or whoever can go and take anabolics now. I'm not saying whether or not they're quality or if they're real, because most of them aren't. And by real, I mean, is it a real preparation? That's what they're called, preparations. Made for a use that was specific. It was for health. And not really health, it was part of the sick care system where they give you things to try and mitigate a symptom. So just because something is listed as being good and it's supposed to increase lean tissue does not necessarily mean that it is good for you. And in the current day and age, if you don't know what redox potential is, percent heteroplasmy, at least those two, and the fact that vitamin D is not a vitamin, but it's a pre-hormone, it's a precursor to a hormone reaction. It's a pre-hormone that's a marker in your blood that says this is how much UV light that this person has absorbed during the day, and then it puts out that much. And then your body can say, oh, this is how much body fat we need to release to make up for the lack of electrons that we didn't get because we were wearing rubber boots around in the garden instead of being barefoot, etc., etc. Now, of course, there's the people in the background like, oh, where's this guy's fucking tinfoil hat? Well, it's all around me because I live in a Faraday cage. But if you don't know who Mr. Faraday was, who was back in the time of Tesla, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. You're like, oh, what a kook. You mean he puts a ton of metal in his room just so that he can talk to people in a higher level of consciousness because he knows how to manipulate his fucking dopamine levels? Hmm. And here I am in a discussion about whether or not anabolics are good or bad for you. And I'm going to say it all depends on where you live, number one, what you do for work, and how much screen time you spend on your stupid phone having arguments online. You can use that as a baseline for your average human now that lives in a city center or anywhere in the modern world. Okay? And even people in second and third world countries now have smartphones. It's nothing new. But people all over the entire world are actually at a much lower redox potential, right? And they have much lower negative repulsion between all the surfaces of the body, right down to the molecular level almost. Pretty much. Actually, it's true if you want to get right down to brass tacks. But is just people going to be sawing logs before I'm done this? Or are people like, he's went way off track? It's like, no, I haven't. I'm setting a framework for what I'm talking about. Okay? So if you haven't understood half of this, get in line, because not many people know about quantum molecular biology, and there's not many people that know about it in the depth that I do that are being nice and being an admin on a space that's for like stuff that I'm so bored of answering this type of question. It's like I just go through and I like people's posts that I like. It's like, oh, am I going to analyze whether they were correct about this word and this, oh, but the plane of motion on the axial blah blah dorsal side, oh, make sure it's like if I wanted to go and talk like that, I'd have to go and remember all the words that I've forgotten since university that I have no use for. If it doesn't have a nice firm video or a big nice picture in my head that's what that word labels, I don't even need a label for it. I don't. It's useless stuff that I'll never use, right? So anyway, depending on your mitochondrial haplogroup, which is your actual, and this is the science. Okay, folks, this is the science, and I'm answering and I'm ending the debate about whether or not you should take steroids or testosterone. We're going to just say I'm only speaking about testosterone now, which is the template for every other thing that you call a freaking steroid. Okay, anabolic androgenic steroid. Where did they get the template before they made the first oral one, which was way better for performance? It's called Dianabol, which no one's actually taken unless you actually took one of the blue pills from Seba Labs, and they don't exist anymore. Oh, but my neighbor's got a box. He has to save it. It's past due. Okay? There, that's for all. Like, if you understood the Pandora's box you're opening when you say, like, so what do you think to somebody that has an argumentative bent to them and wants to argue or just go around and sling shit at everybody? Like, it's visibly, you can see it on Facebook. It's like, there's even a piece of shit fucking, like, what do they call those things? Emoji. So if you see someone like slinging a lot of shit around, you can either say, okay, this is either positive shit or it's negative shit. Because shit's shit, right? So if there's a big coily thing there, it's like, okay, what's this person posting about? Is he posting about the other person, or is he posting or she posting about themselves? So whenever I see a piece of shit post, I'm automatically on fucking troll hunting fucking duty. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can use that piece of shit to to like reel in. Sorry, did I stutter? To reel in the troll that's out there slinging shit, right? And then you might investigate and you look through the whole thing and you go, oh, he couched that piece of shit in a really nice discussion that he has that wasn't an argument. And actually, you know what? He posted it there and he said, I feel like a piece of shit sometimes. He put that at the end of the sentence. That's okay. I don't care if you use a piece of shit emoji for stuff like that. Self denigration is great. It's like the basis for all stand up comedy. Okay? Oh, I'm such a piece of shit. Fuck. Oh, I had to quit smoking. Don't worry, it's water vapor for those of you that don't know, and it's cleaning my lungs. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna get popcorn lung, man. It's like, misinformation alert, misinformation alert. It's like, fuck. For those of you from the UK, and there's a few, the UK health minister, like back when these first came out, made sure that they were advertised in all the hospitals after he realized that the freaking lung disease rate was going down when people vaped and quit smoking. But over here in Canada, our government, everywhere else, are like, yeah, but we know better because we have to try it for ourselves. Oh no, I must be getting popcorn lung. I don't even have a. There isn't even a piece of snot up my nose. If you have one of these things, you go. If there was anything up there, all of a sudden it will turn into liquid and it comes out. Because that's what this is. It's full of benzene rings. And if you don't know what benzene rings are, then you actually don't know how testosterone actually works. So go and look up benzene rings and see if you can figure it out. You won't be able to, because I'm not talking about benzene rings that are in a big thing of like 20 kilos or whatever it is that you put on a thing to soak up an oil spill at a gas station. Okay, that's called benzene. All right? You can also use it to soak up pretty much any old shit. It's a benzene ring structure. Usually comes in beads. Well, there's another benzene ring structure. They're everywhere. It's called water. Okay? And the benzene rings in your extracellular fluid, that's the fluid that sits outside your cells that isn't actually electromagnetified, if you want to. That's not actually, you can make up a word. Electromagnetified by the little energy producers that are bacteria that have a completely different DNA structure than you. It's round instead of the double helix. It's like it's not even similar. Okay? It's not even similar. And viral DNA is way more like able to withstand radiation of all types than bacterial, because bacteria is just so. Virus has a shell. It's got a shield. It's like, as long as it's got that nice bacteria in the human part, providing all that lovely energy called ATP that goes the end of it, the end of the electron transport chain. There's an empty shell casing that used to hold a whole pile of electrons, right? All the valence shells are empty, and a little piece of energy goes. It's happened 9 quadrillion times. That's 16 zeros. Oh wait, did I forget a zero? It kind of ceases to matter once you get to like 12 or 13 zeros. It's a moot point. If you know how big that number is, you'd be like, that's happening like every banana second inside my cells. Oh, maybe they could move pyramids and stuff just by going, oh, back in fucking Egypt. Who the fuck knows? But they knew a lot more than we did. They didn't need Google. Pharaoh sitting there in the middle of the cave, the huge cave that they built called a pyramid. It's like to exact specifications that we can't even fucking build them like that ourselves now. And they're like, why was there that hole in the top with the gold foil up there? Oh wait, he was in a huge Faraday cage with walls so thick that no radiation of any kind could get in except what they wanted. And at the top they put gold foil, and gold absorbs all the light frequencies pretty much except for fucking red light. And red light beams down on his head and is absorbed by the red light chromophore called water, which is a liquid crystal matrix just like a computer chip. Quote, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief. And no, I don't have a teleprompter. Well, there, Joel, get out of the basement. Come on, man. Right? But Mr. Biden's smart. He probably knows he has dementia when he's having his moments of lucidity and goes and hides in his basement because he feels better. It's in a Faraday cage. It's called going underneath the ground. All of a sudden, you don't get hit by all the disgusting slop of friggin' fake energy that's flying everywhere, including like every bi-directional EMF device that's walking around called a human. You think Jim Carrey is making fun of everybody at TIFF, talking about like strange things bumping into each other randomly and acting like a retard? Ooh, did I say that? It actually means arrested development. And I was talking about an adult, not one of the people that are less than 5% of the population that actually have a true genetic disease. So every time you say, oh, I'm overweight because of my genetics, like, bullshit. You're overweight because of your epigenetic environment that you were brought up in. And you weren't taught to say no, and your parents didn't freaking portion your food, etc., etc. And so then therefore you just propagate it because humans just love to go, poor me, poor me. Oh, sorry. A poor me bird, if you didn't see that post, because it's like one out of like thousands that are flying all over Savage Games. Then poor me bird is a bird that was invented by my father, okay? And he's a master storyteller. He's an elder. Like, he sits at the front in certain places, and there's like a whole bunch of chairs. And I didn't even know this because he doesn't talk about that. It's up to me to toot his horn. So the poor me bird sits by itself. It's on a wire, bird on a wire, just by itself. And it's like, it's got only one tune that it sings. Poor me! Poor me! And it really gives it the gusto, like, because it's by itself. It's like the huge echo chamber of the world. Poor me! Until one person walks along and go, poor you! What about me? Poor me! And then there's two poor me birds, and then they sit together on there, and they're like, poor me! But they're both saying it. They're still not talking to the other bird. Like, so do you get it? If you don't, go and sit up on the wire by yourself some more. Sing your song. While the other people that are following along are like, okay, I'm getting it now. This guy's like basically saying to the whole people out here, it's like, you're in Savage Gains, which was started by a guy out of the goodness of his heart, and you're arguing about stuff. You're like denigrating his space. Okay? Have some respect for the fact this guy has put like countless thousands of hours into this. If you think it's not thousands, dream on. You don't get 10,000 people in a space if you didn't say hi to every single one almost. Okay? I haven't seen any of the behavior on other spaces that he has shown us. Like every person, how are you? He takes the time to like comment on as many things as he can. But one man cannot do it alone. One woman can't do it alone. And that's why we now have Savage Gains headquarters. And we're going to discuss this. And I just put up a new one called The Penalty Box. And it's a separate channel. It's a private channel. And people will be invited there. And there's going to be another panel of people called the admins and mods that have shown that they're of that caliber, that they can make those judgment calls. And we're actually going to have a poll. It's like, based on what we've discussed, is this person getting banned? And then the next poll will be, for how long? Is it a 3-day mute thing, or is it a complete ban, or is it whatever? Or are they gone for a week and then we tell them they can come back, or do they have to come and grovel or whatever? Because that's private. And our decisions won't be made public and how we made them and what. And if you're gone, you'll just be gone. There won't be any discussion about it. But we're going to invite certain people. If they're popular enough, we're going to invite them to the penalty box. And we're going to discuss, because it says arbitration center in the tags. And there's going to be arbitration. We're going to treat this like, it's like Savage Gains. We're going to come up like the Charter of Rights and Freedoms of Savage Gains members. And maybe I'll base it on the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is just a basic loose framework that sits on everyone's wall. And then the justice system is the one that interprets currently what that particular thing means in this day and age. That's how ours works. It's not some set in stone thing. It's like completely, it's like a nice healthy brain. It's got very great plasticity, and we can work with a lot of different things. Just like we can take someone that's, being celebrated, and we can say goodbye. Okay? Just because you're like king shit one day doesn't mean that you won't be fucking in the shit heap the next day. Because if enough members complain about anybody and they bring it and they say, this is why we're complaining, it has to do with general guideline breakage, like just being a douche. Just, if all you have to say is, that's not true, what an idiot, name calling, it's like, okay, as soon as there's like 10 name calling things, it doesn't matter if it's a bad word or not. It's just like, if that's all you got to say, here's like a 3-day mute. That's the warning. And we're going to come up with all these procedures, and they're going to be posted in the announcement section. So if you get a 3-day mute, all you'll have to do is go and look and go, oh, that's what like 15 people decided after like 30 people complained. If Facebook didn't already erase you, okay? We're not doing half the stuff you even think that's being done. Facebook just comes along and goes, oh, and they're recording you. And then eventually you get to a certain stack in their thing, they just go, and we don't even know. We're just like, oh. And all you hear going off into this is, it's like, poor me. And it's gone. Just like that. So just sit and think, if you fit into the classification of the poor me bird that's looking for attention, which is why everybody's on social media pretty much, right? I love attention. I'm an egotistical prick. Fuck. I was a fucking competitive bodybuilder, and it wasn't even popular, and everyone said that you were gay. There's nothing wrong with being gay. I'm just saying, back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, that was like, what? Right? So, anyway, don't worry, my doctor's gay. Known him for 30 years, one of my best friends. Last guy I helped get his personal training certificate. Fully gay. Here, I'll give his ding. Yes, he does love to run around the forest with other men with no clothes. I always say, I'm like, no, it's okay. I know you've got a standing invitation. I don't do that. Although I will go to a sweat lodge and let my balls hang out with a bunch of other people because it's dark and no one can see unless they open the flap to let a bit of light in. And then sometimes you might see a build a bear's balls. Oh man, that's hilarious. Oh, too funny. There is a guy named Bill the Bear. It's a men's group. Come on. And the guy who's loving running around the forest, he's not afraid to admit it. He's like 6'1", full-blood Native American, blonde hair, and he looks like 30 years younger than he is. He's got nothing to complain about. And he might even weigh in on this if he watches this, because I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure he knows about taking testosterone now. Yeah. And he didn't start when he was 20, he didn't start when he was 30, he didn't start when he was 40, and he didn't start with, I won't tell you, but it was above the age of 40, okay? So I don't talk about people's ages specifically, especially not my good friends. And he's just got a great sense of humor. He's probably laughing right now. But anyway, the Pharaoh sat there absorbing red light, bottom of the pyramid, and rejoiced in the fact that for a moment he was the smartest guy on the planet, because he was directly stimulating his main mitochondrial mass, the mitochondria being the bacteria that produce those 9 quadrillion little farts of energy every banana second, for lack of a better word to use, because it's just, I'm trying to create, it's a ridiculously small amount of time, a banana second. Unlike the jiffy that my Uncle Richard told me is 1/28th of a second. So it doesn't happen in a jiffy. It's way faster than a jiffy, and it's way faster than when Jack Robinson jumped, whatever that is, because my old Aunt Bessie, who lived to 100 as well, was like, get into bed quick like Jack Robinson. So it's way faster than that. So I'm just naming it the banana second, because it's so fast it'll make you go bananas if you think about it too much. Okay? So when you take exogenous testosterone or any of its derivatives, whether in oral or whatever form, okay, you're actually using up red light that is stored in a crystalline matrix of benzene rings, and it gets dumped into your bloodstream, and then it gets very long on the red blood cells that have negative repulsion so that they don't stick to the arterial walls. And the only reason you have a fucking heart attack is if you're taking too much of this stuff and you're not actually supplying your body with enough electrons. So can you healthily take stuff like this? Yes. Do I believe that anyone actually knows what they're doing except for a very small handful of people, including almost, I'm going to have to say nobody, unless you've heard somebody explain what an exciton is, which I've already done, but I just haven't named it in this conversation, right? If you don't know what an exciton is, then, well, if I was Jack Cruz, I would be saying to you, then don't even talk to me about anything to do with nutrition, diet, or anything. Anything that even has to do with like the twitch of your little finger, which means that you're folding and unfolding a protein somewhere along that chain, except there's like so many of them, it's like, holy crap, if you actually thought how much proteins are folding and unfolding to make my fucking mouth move like this, you'd be like, holy fucking banana second, Batman, wait a minute. It's like, take a pause, because pretty much you don't know diddly squat about anything about how your actual physiology works, let alone how your brain or your mind works, especially when you're in an open space that's there forever and you're just putting all your stuff there and people can go back over it and go, look, there's the fucking shit line. I can see the whole thing, and there he is at the end, and he's saying, I didn't do anything, and meanwhile there's like 6 months worth of whatever up there, or she, whichever one. Or that person also makes a post and somebody else, a whole bunch of people jump on it, and it's a big long post and it's well formatted and there's like, it has speaking points in it and this, and you're like, wow, this is really great, and you're going to go back and read it again, and then people are just like, so of course I contacted that person, like, here's my email, because now I'm inviting them to the inner foyer of Savage Gains headquarters, which is on a collaboration platform called Slack. So if you get an invitation from Savage Gains headquarters, right, which you won't, you'll get one from like Savage Gains athlete and public relations department. We're gonna have athletes. Think we're not gonna have Savage Gains athletes when we come out with our like bag of creatine that's like 35% off for all Savage Gains members that are above a certain level of whatever? I'm not even gonna tell you about Mirror World. I'm not telling you about that. Man, I got like a whole case system set up. If you don't know what a caste is, well, go and look it up. C-A-S-T-E, or is it C-A-I-S-T? C-A-S-T-E, caste. Okay? It's like a hierarchical level system. For like, usually it'd probably be like at like, Hogwarts, they have case systems. okay? Slytherin. In Slytherin, you're like a journeyman, and then you're a whatever, and then you're a warrior wizard, and then I have a whole thing that I made up in like 2010 that I could just plop it in here, but we need a programmer. Oh wait, my cousin's programming some stuff that he said I could use right now. I mean, like I have 41 first cousins. Think I haven't had an argument or two? Actually, I haven't. Not many. I usually just sit and listen. Even though I do talk a lot, as you can see, it's a gift. But the gift of the gab. My first podcast was like, more than 12 years ago. I had on a guy that's like a published author. Just like, I was having a specialist on as my first guest. It was my only guest. I wasn't ready. It's okay. The lady I was doing my therapy with at the time says, don't worry, it's okay. Just keep doing your work and it'll all work out. Guess what? She just started her own podcast right now. And I already posted underneath it. I'm like, can I come on? I promise I won't cry. I'm certainly going to post this up in the announcement so people can get a feel for like what the team's like, and especially admin number 1, because admin 0 is Adam. Admin 1 is me. David Bryson is admin 2. You can see that that's how we got added in the hierarchy of it. So we've had these discussions. We're just getting used to using Slack, and we're going to be discussing all the different things that go on when we're in Savage Gains headquarters, which is our little space for only the 3 of us that are the originators of it. It's really Adam, but he's allowed us to join in the fun. And then he realized that I'm like, well, I'm a polymath. And one of the things that I've enjoyed greatly in becoming an expert at is social media and the systems that help to run it. So I've done everything from build websites from scratch for professional organizations. I've used everything from freaking original Dreamweaver to, what was the last one? Aveda, the awesomest theme ever, and I still promote it to people. Who knows? Maybe we'll start up a real forum somewhere, like on Discuss or something like that, because they did that on Steam. You could become a part of the Discuss thing, and you get even more in-depth information because you could have like channels in there. Oh, wait a minute. We already do that on Slack. There's going to be video calls and Zoom stuff, and VIP this, and it won't cost much either. Imagine it's like 99 cents a month to be a VIP and actually get in on like Zoom calls where we're discussing real things. Like we might even have a private Zoom call for VIP members that pay because they're paying. They get to input, but it doesn't mean that we're going to be like, oh, okay, just because you're a VIP. You'd be like, we'll take that under, we'll give that greater weight, but we're the admin team, and it's always going to be that way. That's a private channel on Slack, right? Which is probably one of the most well-used collaboration softwares, period, that has so many automations and bots. I already got filters put on it. Steroids, pharma, and gear. Anyone even mentions one of those words, I get fucking Slack bot comes to me and goes, someone said that on this platform that we run. And that person will immediately get flagged because I'm going to make a bot that flags those people, and they're getting invited to the penalty box unless they're talking about something that's like, you know, in a room where you're supposed to be talking about that stuff. Because this is the place, imagine as you're building a space online that it's like your office building, and this space is where you come as a professional that interacts with Savage Gains, because that's where we have to go with this, or else it'll just implode and it'll just be one of those other pieces of junk hanging off the edge of Facebook doing nothing. That started off as a great idea, a great feeling, which it was and is, and then went off the rails because people are using it for something that it's not, which is their own poor me platform. Okay? Those of you that don't like sarcastic humor are probably like, right now. A very good friend of mine is a woman that is very knowledgeable about the figure fitness and bodybuilding industry. She's made more outfits for more competitors than you even know competitors. Okay? She knows everything. Oh, I can't wait to have her on Savage Gains Live if she'd come on. She once told me that I was very hurtful and something that I said, and I was like, what? Because I didn't even know how sarcastic I was, because I was unconscious and unaware of my behaviors at that point when it came to sarcastic delivery of a nice, like, cutting comment. Now I'm very aware of it, but I use it as a tool to give people a little online, right? A nice little because they're being a bonehead or whatever it is. And I do sarcastic things like just post up the gif of the guy munching on popcorn. I'm just sitting there. But if you don't realize that I'm telling you what I'm doing, I'm just sitting there watching with interest before I say anything or make any comment. And then I go back and I'll look at that person's interactions with other people. And if most of it's just a pile of shit, you know, the little, that shit, then the penalty box. And then once we verify that the person doesn't even want to come and talk in the penalty box, then we just ban them. We don't feel bad about it no matter who they are. See how it works? So what I'm doing here is I'm developing a framework and I'm putting it into a video so that I can remember, because when you interact with your environment, you actually remember things better. It's called epigenetics, folks. Helps you fold and unfold proteins more rapidly, which is actually how your neurochemicals move across your fucking brain. If you don't believe that, go and check out the MIT website. You can get the fucking little video clip of it. Okay? I don't talk shit and I don't tell stuff that's not true, especially when it comes to science. So if I say something, I can back it up with a mountain of real science. So don't bother arguing with me unless you've got a really good, scientifically based, back upable argument online. And by that I mean positively enhancing discussion, because I don't argue. If you're just there arguing, just if I do a big thing like this as a discussion point, and then the next thing is like 3 words and it comes back in 5 seconds, it's over. You're not discussing anything. You're arguing. You've already canned your answers up, and you're just sitting there going, "Oh, when do I get to use that one that I always do? Ooh, that's when they all have a meltdown." Well, I don't have meltdowns. I've been a professional troll hunter since like fucking 20 years ago, when you just didn't even know what a space was. Guys or girls or whatever. And congratulations to those positive people, because this sounds so negative, but it's not. Because it's like the undercurrent of tongue-in-cheek mockery of people that are just being silly, and those that have well-adjusted, you know, egoic personas will be like, and they might even enjoy starting to watch these videos, because it's always going to be some funny fucking shit. And it doesn't matter who says what, because I might even go just be like, you know, I'm just going to personally mute that person so that only I can't see them anymore, and they're just going to keep talking about it. And they're going to know every person that I do this to, because it's not going to be one person or two. It's not one or two even right now. This whole pile of people I'm looking at just be like, haven't even commented on anything about their shit. I haven't even looked at their stuff yet. We don't have time. It's like we're desperately trying to set up a little infrastructure so that we can stop the implosion. Okay? Always goes to the lowest common denominator. And I didn't say that I don't like doing fart humor and potty jokes after dinner. Sometimes a little bit too soon, you know? Like, oh, excuse me. It was just the roast beef. It was so good, Mrs. Coleman. And then they can't say anything, right? And then everyone laughs and you have another drink. Oh, man. I don't even want to talk about that. Anyway, this is me signing out. I'm going to rewatch this, as I always do. And thanks for taking the time to watch it all the way through. Because if you did, good for you. And you'll notice I didn't take these off even barely once, except so you can see my eyeballs, because it's polite, right? But I've got 2 layers of friggin'. I got the classic blue blockers that don't even probably exist almost anymore. Actually, you can buy these at as seen on TV. And I got these awesome ones that I found in my neighbor's front yard, Tony Montana. I was like, yo, Tony, found these in your garden. Saw him down at the park when the cops are down there. It's like we were just chatting, having a smoke, and the cops rolled up. And we're like, oh. They're checking out the spot where the guy got beat up in the park the other night. Probably almost dead. Could be one of my friends, I don't know. Because I went back a couple of times because I do community outreach. And winter's coming, folks, so if you don't have anything better to do than just stupid comments and stuff on Savage Gains, why don't you go and do some community outreach and go and help one of the suffering people that just newly became an opioid addict in your neighborhood, because it could be your neighbor and you don't know. And it's even more likely now because in the United States alone, opioid addiction is up 23% year over year. Okay, so in the States, it's 100,000 people. Just like, this is new. Okay, we're not talking about the hundreds of thousands that have fucking died already. Right? It's only been like 3 or 4 years, but people just only knew it once it became an epidemic, because people have been dying left, right, and center for that for like way longer than what you think, and it's only going to continue to get worse. We haven't even seen we're definitely not at peak opioid epidemic yet, not even close. Okay. Redox potential, percent heteroplasmy, okay, and ROS levels in the body dictate currently right now whether or not you're going to have a long, healthy life, or one that's much shorter and much more painful, in whichever way the disease state will present itself in each person if they don't listen to some of the stuff like what I'm actually starting to discuss on this awesome space called Savage Gains. And I don't care what doctor it is or what guru, I know more about what testosterone does in the body on a quantum molecular level. And if you'd like to come forward and give me a test, don't worry about it. I already sent my homework to Dr. Cruz, because I always send my stuff to him on LinkedIn so that he can see whether or not I do know what an exciton is, because he put that out there years ago on a fucking one video. He said, if you're a nutritionist and you don't know what an exciton is, don't even bother even trying to contact me. Well, I just sent him an audio that I put in the MIFA Men's Fitness Group. MIFA Men in Fitness. It's a men's fitness group for professionals. It's run by my friend Davide, who's probably watching this. Hey, Davide. Yeah, we're going to get Savage Live podcast going. Savage Gains Live podcast going. Right? Make a mistake. Don't worry about it, folks. Repeat and rewind. Savage Gains Live podcast. We're going to be discussing just this type of stuff. And we will invite on everybody. You a controversial person that's been banned? Give us a contact. Say you'd like to come on Savage Gains Live podcast and talk about your banning with us, and we will. As long as you're not do name calling and on any behavior that you might have got banned for in the meantime. Right? And that's a really great way, because if someone came on and did that, they wouldn't even have to say sorry. They'd be on the show and they'd just be like, hey, I really appreciate you having me on. And be like, yeah, we want to talk about some of those things that are on Savage Gains, because, you know, it is possible that someone can just go and get another computer, an IP address, and make up a fake email and come back on and be somebody else. But we really don't care, because the behavior will be the same. And if it isn't, hey, we got a reformed person on our hands. All right. But anyway, I digress. And see how enthusiastic I am about it? I'm getting right into it. I got to go and rewatch this, and I got to upload it on YouTube. You know how long that takes? Nobody's getting paid nothing here, folks. I already got one sponsor scared away, because even mods and stuff they're not checking in with us. It's time. If you're a mod and an author or an expert, there's going to be a space for you over on Slack, and if you don't check in once a week or whatever it is that you agree to, then we just take you off and we get one of the other people that are actually enthusiastically wanting to do it. That's it. Put your money where your mouth is and come up with really good, solid, back-upable freaking, the whole sandwich of argument, right? The bun, how you do an argument. It's how you write a paper. Get the bun, and then you got like the condiments and everything, and then the meat of the argument. And when you eat the whole thing, it should taste really good. But if there's a bunch of shit in there, it won't. There, that's how you mark a paper. Well, yeah, that's how you mark a fucking paper. Peer reviewed, baby. That didn't taste good going down at all.